Kilted Ballz.
Ballz.
I have no idea what we were channeling there, but that was pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
That's pretty awesome,
Welcome back, everybody,
as always.
to another Kilted Ballz podcast.
Yes.
Woo!
Ooh, look how shiny my forehead is today.
Yeah,
Oh
you're
my
like
goodness.
super shiny, and I'm like super tall. Like I'm at the top of my screen. What's going on there?
I know, it's weird. Usually you lay down at your computer desk. Oh, there you go.
There we go. So I got a
see
gift
this.
this weekend for my birthday.
It was pretty awesome, but I
So
think you
it
should
came-
tell everyone else.
It came with cups, and you can see they're etched, which is cool. They say perfectly aged. They're like ultra rare 1975 edition. And it came with a decanter with the same things kind of written on it, right?
That's super awesome.
Yep, and I put some.
So what did you decide to put in that one?
So I put some black barrel bourbon in there that I've tried, and it came with like ice things. So these are the
Oh, yeah.
ice stones. See them?
Stones. Yeah.
So I figured that's
Super
how I was going
awesome.
to start this episode today with my new decanter. With my
There you
and
go.
this whiskey is like super good, but it's like it probably should be cut, right? It's a single batch, about 59.6%.
Okay.
So it's like not a light batch, but it's super flavorful. So
Nice. Yeah, those stones are super cool.
yeah.
And the stones like that are nice because then it doesn't get all watered down.
Yeah, though this one probably needs to be watered down. And sorry to give you guys like a full frontal here.
Yeah.
Like another one of my birthday presents that I think
You
you've
have
seen.
to
I don't
mark
think I
this
showed
down.
mine
Not
here.
safe for kids.
Not safe for kids for sure. Is this bad boy?
I did see that picture of it. You talked about it last week. It's nice to see.
But now people can see it, right?
Uh-huh. So if there's a vote going on, I vote that you cut it more V-shaped.
Like this.
Mm-hmm.
Shave
I think
this
that's
off.
a good look. You can shave that or not shave it, but you were asking what to do with this. I think if you trimmed it more like a V.
I was thinking about just trimming it almost off.
I know.
But
I just
like I've been thinking about cutting it a lot, but now that I've got the pipe and the whiskey,
pipe is super awesome.
like I feel like now I'm kind of a character.
Mm-hmm.
Don't I look like a character?
Look, I moved my old work. This was at my desk at work. Now it's at my desk here.
Nice. And I see you're still wearing the Harley.
Yep. I mean, I have the clothes. So it's funny you brought that up. So if I wouldn't have left on good terms a couple weeks ago when I left, I think that I would have left either yesterday or on today's Tuesday. So either today or Saturday, because a customer that I was working in it, and he ended up buying, which I'm not there. I'm totally fine. He was having a hard time getting financing, so we weren't sure if it was going to happen. But it would have been my third $50,000 bike that I would have gotten paid $100 on.
That would be enough to make anybody leave.
Yeah. So
Like, that's
I'm
just a dick move by the
super happy
dealership.
it worked. I'm super happy it worked out. Like I saw his picture today on Facebook and I was like, oh good, he worked it out. Because the whole last week I was there, I was like trying to call him and he just ghosted me.
Yeah.
So maybe he was working on things, maybe he was working, who knows. But the week
whoever
before
did
I
that
had
got
talked
more
to him.
than $100, right?
Whoever did it is on full commission and they got full commission for it. Yep. Whoever wrote everything up, because he was already sold. I had already spent 3 hours with them at the dealership.
Right. So that's just bad management / bosses, right?
It's fine. It's fine. I told Gina today, I was like, I'm glad I'm not there. Because I don't think I would have left under the happiness and everything that when I chose to leave.
Right.
I would have been like, so why am I not getting commission?
Right. Like you're taking advantage of me.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what they would be doing. They'd be taking advantage.
But I didn't have to. I don't have to worry about that. So,
No.
but I was like, I need to share this with Brian. This is just kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, and
Like,
for your peace of mind, it's better. And you said you were like making outlines and stuff, and you're working on your author stuff.
yeah.
And,
Yep. Yeah, I got like 4 hours in today, which for a school day, and I had to go to Black Lion. I'm super happy with that. Like 4 hours, like at my desk, like working and reading, and yeah.
I feel almost free. Like I've still got a couple more weeks of the season, but I made it through the busiest times.
Yep.
I'm sitting here pretending to smoke my pipe.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling good about life.
That's super awesome. Yeah, so you have a couple weeks left. So you had some people that made it all the way through to States.
Had quite a few
Awesome.
make it. Not as many as I wanted or thought I should, but still got quite a few through, and kind of happy with that.
That's super awesome.
Yeah, it's not bad at all, right? And this tastes good, even though it's only been smoked like once. Like, there's like nothing in it, but it still has that flavor.
Yeah. That's what the other night I was given that cigar, and it's been a while since I smoked a cigar, and this is I would say a friend who, like, whenever I go over there, he feels like he has to give me something. So
somebody pays you to be your friend.
Yep. So, but I sucked on that cigar all night. It was 2 Thursdays ago when we were playing Dominion. I was like, just biting. It was just in my mouth, and it just tastes like. It probably wouldn't have been enjoyable if I would have lit it.
Well, I mean, you do have an oral fixation, and you love long things in your mouth, so it kind of makes sense.
That makes sense. Long brown things.
Long brown things in your mouth, like that's your thing. So.
That
makes total sense.
So it works out.
It does. What else? There was something else I was gonna say. It's freezing up here. I don't know if it's freezing down there. It was 1 degree on my way into work today.
The boys may not have school tomorrow. They're calling for 2 inches tomorrow.
Wow. So it's just like Gina.
But it's not supposed to start till like 11. Well, that's twice.
Nice.
So, yeah, I guess I'm going to keep checking. As of right now, they still have school, but I was trying to find when it was supposed to hit, but I heard it was supposed to hit like 11 a.m. So I don't know how hard it's going to come, but
it's going to come
2 inches pretty big. Yeah, 2 inches
is huge. That's huge. Come all over the place.
So yeah, I don't know how. Like, I like to get more work done than a day off, but I tell you what, I was super sick all weekend. I'm glad it's getting it out of my chest now. The weekend sucked.
What happened? Like, the boys were sick last weekend. Did it just carry over?
Yeah. I ended up picking it up, just like coughing a ton and like just feeling bad.
Sometimes it gets to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a story for you.
Awesome.
So you have been like talking to me, like, separate from this, that you have a wet sauna and a dry sauna.
Mm-hmm.
And am I right? You do like the wet sauna for a certain amount of time and then the dry sauna for a certain amount of time, or is it one or the other? Or how's it working for you?
Yeah, I tend to do the dry first, then the wet.
So, but you do both?
Usually. Not every time.
Like how long?
Sometimes I don't. Usually the dry sauna is about an hour, but I don't turn it on to warm up. I turn it on and climb in.
Okay.
So, and it only gets up to like 120 degrees.
Only 120.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I'm sure that there are saunas out there and it's an infrared, so I'm sure that there are dry saunas that get a lot hotter than that. And then there's also, like, you could pour, like, this doesn't have rocks to pour a little bit of steam on or anything like that. This is just an infrared sauna. So yeah, I usually spend about an hour in there. And then the other one is usually closer to like 20, 25 minutes. And the same, I plug it in, I put the water in, plug it in, I put some essential oils in the reservoir inside because the water, like, steams outside, comes in and comes up. And it's usually like at least 5 minutes where I'm just sitting there, and then it'll start, and I sit there. I don't know how
So
hot that
why do
gets.
you do both?
Just different feelings.
Is that like normal that people do both, hot, dry and wet, or it's just
So
something you
it's been
like?
a long time since I've been to like a gym, but I would say if like not that I don't consider myself old at all, but the old guys that have nothing but time, they would sit in both for hours. So
See, I've
or like go
only
back and
sat in
forth
like
and stuff
one
like that.
sauna or the other sauna. I've never done both. That's kind of weird to me.
hmm When I was at hotels that would have both, I would sit in both if I could. But it's
Interesting.
rare for a hotel to have both.
It's rare
But a lot
nowadays
of
for them to have
times,
one.
yeah, like I used to like be at hotels that had the wet saunas pretty regularly.
Hmm.
Always had, hot tubs, which were nice too. It's just different.
Hmm. So
Like a
you were
nice hot tub at a hotel is pretty rare.
pretty rare, pretty rare, and they've been going away. Like I go to a lot of hotels where I see they're filled in. Right?
Wow.
They just
What were you
let
going to
you.
ask?
Not ask, but so that you talking about that reminded me that like I'd wanted a sauna before, and I recently my wife had started changing her tune, like, oh, maybe that wouldn't be bad. And I was like, oh, maybe that's something I should like look into again. So when you were talking about it, I was like, I've kind of wanted one. I wonder like what the prices are. Like somebody was like, I was like, would I use it? Just like our buddy Jason, like,
hmm
would I use it? And I'm
Yeah.
like, how much? They have them at like Sam's Club. So I'm like, how much are they at
hmm
Sam's? Like, could I like experiment? And I was on my way home, I think, and I remembered my girls' bathroom has a heater in it. And so like I had
Nice.
gotten home one day and I'm like, I wonder how hot this room gets. And it was about 60 in my house that day. So I like went in, I clicked on their heater, and I went and got a thermometer and put it in there. And I waited, I don't know, a half hour, and it easily got up to like 65 or 67. And I was like, that doesn't seem quite good enough for a sauna, no matter who you are. And so I
Yeah,
went
they
down
could
into the
probably get us.
basement and grabbed my heater from the basement because the basement's where our guest room is, as you well know. And so I have
hmm
heaters down there for the guest room. And
It's a
so I
nice
threw
heater.
that into the bathroom and turned it on. And it started cranking up to like over 70. And then my daughter got stuck in the driveway. So I had to go
Mm.
out and plow the driveway and get her unstuck. And I totally forgot about the heater at all. Came in,
Uh-huh.
totally forgot about it. And my youngest daughter, who I was kind of doing it for besides me, I was like, oh, shoot, I forgot about this. She's like, I've been checking on it. It's fine. I'm like, cool. So I go in there and it's 120.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so my wife got home at the same time. I'm like, come up here and check out this bathroom. And she like grabs the doorknob. She's like, the doorknob is hot. I'm like, yes, it is. Go on in. She's like, this is crazy. Like, this can't be safe. Like, the walls are hot. And I'm like, everything is
So
120 degrees.
how long did it take for it to heat up that much?
No idea. And it was
Was
still
it like
going
over
up.
an hour, over a couple hours?
Yeah, maybe an hour. Like, I don't know.
Okay. That's
Like,
not
it
bad.
just cranked. And so
Yeah.
then I was like, ooh, I should sit in here. And I didn't because I was like busy doing other stuff. But then I
Yeah.
was like, oh, this is my way of testing this. Like, if I want to see if I would use one, I know
Mm-hmm.
now, like, I could come home, turn on the heater, and that room would get up to 120, which is the temperature of your dry
Yeah.
sauna.
Mm-hmm.
And then I could see if that's something I would use or if I would enjoy. So,
Yeah.
what do you
So
enjoy about yours?
we got the dry sauna first, and I don't like, I had done shows forever, and I was next to sauna people so many times. Like I'd heard the pitch,
Traverse City all the
and
time.
yeah, like I said, Traverse City were up there, and so Gina had also done it and saw like the positive health effects of the infrared, and the warmth is supposed to be good, and the sweating, and also like I had seen a couple articles talking about even like sweating is almost like a good form of exercise. I mean,
Yes.
not gonna replace anything, but it's if you don't feel like walking that day,
Hmm.
extra like sitting there is gonna do something more than just sitting wherever.
Mm-hmm.
So we got that first, and we got it secondhand. And unfortunately, a guy's wife had gotten it and passed, and only used it a few times. So it was deeply
Did
discounted.
she pass in it?
I didn't ask. We should have, because I did say that to Gina. I'm like, we should have asked if she was in here.
Yeah, yeah.
But I haven't noticed any
Like
weird
he
spirits
locked the
hanging
door
around.
with her in there, and that's
Yeah, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
And then we ended up getting the wet one because the boys have they're always getting sick and stuff like that. Yeah. So it was more for them and getting the moisture and some of the essential oils and stuff to like help loosen up stuff in their lungs or like, so that's why we had gotten that one. But I love the warmth. And like I said, when I did shows, like that's how I would relax. Like, especially if I was in a hotel with one, like I would always be there. When I was in Alaska for the state fair, the hours were super long, but every night I went and hung out in the wet sauna.
And that was just super relaxing.
Yeah, it's just relaxing just to sit there. And now I just like I'll either just like put a movie on my phone and just listen to it or watch it, and just because the 120 doesn't make my phone get too hot where it turns off. Nice. And it's only an hour, so I can just lay there and hold it. But the wet sauna gets too wet. I just sit in there.
Because that's in a bathroom, like I told my wife, I'm like, this is like could be a wet sauna. Like you fill up the tub, water from the tap is normally 120 degrees, so it'd be the same temperature as the room. It wouldn't get any colder, and it would be evaporating, and you'd have a wet sauna too.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, it'll almost be like a hot tub-ish too.
Yeah, you could sit in it if you wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's options there. So, like I said, I don't know if I would use it, but it's intriguing to me.
Interesting to hear if you do.
Yeah, I'm really lazy, so I probably won't.
Yeah. I almost did before I wrote you. I was like, I kind of want to sit in the sauna, but like I said, I've been working on some of my next book quite a bit.
Yeah.
Working on the outline, so I wanted to finish reading that because I didn't finish reading
your
the
new
second
book?
outline.
Is it going to be awesome?
I think it's going to be super. It's going to be much better than my first book. I've learned a lot, it's going to be a lot more in depth. And
you should always be better than your first time, don't you think?
I think so. And I already have like tons of ideas, like for my second edition. Like I need to do a lot of changes on my other book, but the goal was to get it out, which was a good goal.
Yeah. That's the most important goal. I'm excited to get back to stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So I think we could get our other book knocked out sooner, like whenever we want, like a sooner than later.
That would be fantastic, honestly. Fantastic.
If we decide on that, like, okay, like let's move forward and.
Yeah, well, and like once my busy season's over, I kind of have a surplus of energy for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I know. I was thinking that, like, I need to carve out time, make sure I'm spending like an hour or two on it, because I know that you'll be spending some time on it, which is pretty awesome.
And my worry is, I was thinking about this today and a little bit yesterday. My worry is I'm going to have all of this energy, and I'm going to waste it doing stupid stuff. And so I really want to take advantage.
Is it really stupid, though, if that's what you're getting done?
But it'd be stupid stuff.
Or you just mean like...
It'd be like, oh, I'm going to play Sea of Thieves. Look at everything I accomplished in Sea of Thieves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd rather be like, oh, look what I accomplished. I, wrote 2 novels.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I wrote a D&D campaign. Like, that'd be way cooler to me. So.
Mm-hmm. Personally. Yeah, the guys are, like, wondering what you're talking about, so...
With doing a D&D campaign?
How you were kind of...
I'm kind of would be interested in doing one before. So now I'm more like, yeah, I think I can do one.
Mm-hmm.
But it'd be fun. I think if I did it, here's my original premise, right? There would be no backstory. There would be no, hey, go create the character you want to create at the beginning. That would develop, as you and I have talked about before, that would develop through the story and through the character arcs. You would start off with nothing.
That's one thing about the Oh, my brain just stopped working.
Well, that
That
doesn't.
is one thing about the Dungeon Crawl Classic DCC
Hmm.
that I really like, which was the first time I had ever DM'd. You start out as a farmer, as a baker, as whatever, and as you're going through the stories, your arc develops
Yes.
that same way. But that's how they do. That's how that system works,
Yeah, I
which I think is
thought.
super cool. I like that a lot.
Like, I don't think there's spoiler alerts because we haven't started a campaign yet. But my thought was that our party will be merchants, and they're gonna wake up after being robbed.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'll have the normal merchant stuff, and they'll all have like really, really basic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll develop from there. Like, what do they want to do? Like, and then kind of
That's awesome.
as the story progresses, they can progress it however they want to
Mm-hmm.
progress, right? It'll be a true
Yeah.
open world
Mm-hmm.
where I randomly cause mayhem to happen because that's kind of my MO anyway. So I'm like, okay, we'll
Yeah.
put my chaos to good use.
Yeah.
And
And if you decide that you're going to start praying to a god, then you can become a paladin.
right.
If you're practicing your sword and praying and doing all the
You
stuff.
start robbing from people, then you would probably become a rogue, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
let it develop through the story, not you coming in and saying, "Hey, I'm a sorceress like level 5 who does all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to pretend I'm a level 1 right now." Like, no, like that's how you have to develop,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
that'd be super cool.
I think that's how I would run it. And then, they'd quit after week 2 and it'd be good. I'd be done and I'd move on to something else.
Yeah. You'd be like, sweet.
Sweet, my turn, bitches. How
That's
about
awesome.
chaos for a DM?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the other thing is you have no attachment if you're, you know, TPK'd. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly. You
that
didn't put in a whole
sucks.
bunch of time and energy.
Right, right. And so if you die, you
Hmm.
die.
And just like a conversation, and I can't remember if we had this in the group or if it was just Jason and I talking about chaos, because I had mentioned that someone I listened to was talking about somebody else being a bringer of chaos.
Yeah,
And Jason took that as a negative, and I was like, chaos isn't all negative. Like, chaos can be very positive, or it can be negative. Just with anything, depending how you look at it.
yes,
There are some
yes.
things like as a society we judge positive or negative, but then you get into nuances of most things, and that's where your personal judgment comes down with how it is actually effective.
I
So
did not
yeah.
realize that whenever we say like that Trump is a chaos bringer, I did not realize that he was taking that as a negative.
He took it as okay, so it must have just been he and I. Yes, he took that very much so as a negative, and I was like, and I forget how it came up with him and I. I was like, no, not at all. Like he's just chaotic. Like there's
Like I'm
and I said you can go back to his first term, and
you
if you
can go
don't think
back
that was
to you can go
chaos,
back
like
to the
coming in,
apprentice.
yeah, exactly. So he understood that a little better, and if you're listening, Jason, thank you.
But I mean,
Well, not
we
if
talk
when.
about that all the time, and maybe Jason doesn't hear this because it's a different group of people. But like, we always
Mm-hmm.
talk about how chaotic I am and how I'm like
Mm-hmm.
all about chaos. I
Mm-hmm.
clearly don't think that's a negative attribute of mine,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
I don't know why you. That's putting your own values on something somebody else said, which is probably not the best idea. You shouldn't assume their intentions.
Oh, we don't use the word should or shouldn't.
No, no. You should just ask
Oh,
their
so
intentions.
I don't know if you listened to the short today, but
I did not.
I put out a little short, and anyone listened to it, and thank you for being here. If this is what brought you here today, but yeah, there was an interview with a guy that I've been listening to, and he interviews Bashar quite a bit. Like every couple months, and I've heard him like interview some other people, so he's kind of like in that realm.
Yeah.
But he had Neil Donald Walsh on there, and if you don't know who that is, he is the Conversations with God guy. and he was like he had a big part in The Secret, and so from that kind of time frame. But Conversations with God was a book that I loved when it came out. Like I listened to it a lot, and just it. So it was just cool to hear him because I hadn't heard him in many years. But one of the things he had talked about, which I thought was super cool, and because it was just Valentine's Day and Gina's birthday was this weekend, which was super awesome. And he was talking about love, and he was talking about the relationship that he's in now is the longest marriage that he's had. I think he said 17 years, and he's had many marriages. Older guy. But he had said like one thing that he does is every day he goes to his wife and he says, I love you and I do not expect anything from you. I don't expect you to do this. I don't expect you to do that. And just like the list. And he was talking about loving for the sake of loving, not as a quid pro quo, like, oh, I'll love you as long as you're faithful to me, or whatever the reason is. I'll love you if you help pay the mortgage, or a lot of people out there, and a lot of relationships and a lot of marriages, love is subject to something else. So I just thought it was cool. Yeah.
I love you as long as you're skinny.
Yeah, and I was like, that's super cool because that's how I feel about Gina. Like, I just love Gina very much so. And I don't I can't think of anything where I was like tying anything like that to it. But because he was also talking about you set yourself up for disappointment. Like if you're reliant on someone to act a certain way or do a certain thing using, it reminded me because you said should, like using shoulds, and people don't do what you think they should do, it can bring in disappointment for you.
Right.
So I thought it was pretty awesome. And anyone out there, if you're on any sort of journey and you're interested, like Conversations with God is one of my favorites. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
I don't remember what I was going to say. But it's interesting. Man. I don't know what I was going to say because it could have been what I'm about to say. Like I wasn't cataloging my thoughts. But it's interesting because I wonder how things that make relationships, for most people, relationships fit into that theory. Right?
Yeah.
So like, per example, I love cake.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put me in a pool of cake, I would not love cake. My opinion would change, right? And so, like when you get married,
is the pool the baking pan, or is it like filled with small cakes?
Yeah, I don't know, but that's my point. Like he says to his wife, like I love you, and there's like no expectations involved. And if she's like F you, and he comes back later and is like, do you understand I love you? And she's like F you, and she's just mad and angry all the time. He's gonna be like, okay, I don't love you, because he did have expectations, right? He had expectations.
Or maybe he still loves her, but just doesn't like her and doesn't want her part of his life.
I would argue that he loved the past her. He loved the her he thought she was, not who she is. And I think that's
like
something.
If she changed that dramatically.
If she did or didn't, like I talk to people often. I'm trying to think, just recently I had this conversation with someone, but I was like, people need to recognize when you get married, the person you are marrying is not the person you will be married to.
Mm-hmm.
They will change over and over and over, especially if you are in a traditional marriage, right? Like you have the person you're married to, then you have the person you bred with. You have the person who's having kids. You have the person who goes through menopause, right? Every time those hormones shift, it's a new person, right? Like there's a whole bunch of attitudes. As a male, when you stop producing testosterone, you're going to be a different person as that goes through. So the person you married is literally not the same person as you go through. And I said, when you marry somebody, like what you need to think about, like you can't sit there later on and be like, oh, that's not the person I married. Oh, no shit, right? They're not the person you married. The question is that a person that you can see that you will be with all of the time, right? But I think it is incorrect to say, yeah, there's no expectations or there's no assumptions, because there's always expectations and there's always assumptions with everything. Like, you're going to expect Gina to be nice tomorrow. You're not going to
Yes.
expect her to be a raging, like, bee. You're not going to expect her to turn into an alcoholic overnight. You're going to expect her to be pretty damn similar to how she is today.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's like, so I think when people are like, yeah, I love you without any thing like that, like, no, you're full of crap. You're what you're saying is,
Well,
I love you even if you don't do the dishes. Okay, well, yeah.
maybe if you look at it as certain like the way you would love yourself, would you still love yourself if you turned into a raging alcoholic tomorrow?
No.
Probably
That's no, and that's why you become like, that's why it's so bad, because then you drink more and more because you hate
not.
yourself
Mm-hmm.
so much. Right? Like, you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
escape that hatred. That's like the actual problem, right? That's why you
Yeah,
then commit suicide, because you're like so
it
like
happens.
caught up with hating yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's not as simple as people make it. How about that statement? It's not as simple. It's not a one-liner from a book, right?
No, definitely not.
Not a one-liner. What was I going to say before? No, but see the pipe? I don't play with the beer when I'm
Mm-hmm.
sucking on the pipe.
Yeah, it looks nice. Oh, see.
Takes extra work.
If you do it right, you can like sprinkle some hairs in there.
Oh my gosh. So the biggest thing I'm doing lately, and I said something to my wife about this, and she's like, no, I don't, like, I hate it when you play with it. And that's even worse, is like, I'll be sitting here and I'll be like, huh, there's a hair here. Tink, tink. And like, I'm constantly like, boop, just pulling them right out.
Like if it's out of line or
Like if I'm
something.
just playing with it, I'm like, oh, that hair feels weird. Boop, out it comes. Like, boop. She's like, no, that's worse. I'm like, oh, I didn't mean it to be worse.
That's funny.
I finished my little glass of whiskey and I'm kind of sad, even though the whiskey's right here and I could pour it. It's still kind of
Mm-hmm.
sad to me.
Yeah, I let my tea heat up way too much. It's too hot.
Oh no, that's the worst. Worstest,
Mm-hmm.
worstest. So I thought I had something else for us. I like that. I like that idea. But it's funny because I remember early in my marriage, and I would say even now, like, it's still a thing. Like, it's weird to me if like like a couple is not sexually intimate. Like, that's weird to me. And I imagine as you get
Mm-hmm.
older, you become less sexually intimate, right? But it's always been a thing, like that would be bothersome.
Yeah. Like, wait a second, that's weird.
Like, that's part of the that's part of my gig, I think. So, right? Which, sorry for the daughters listening to this, but that's literally how you were created. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like
That's how it works.
it's kind of how it works. And yes, your parents are still
Mm-hmm.
sexually attracted to each other, so that's cool. So you should be
Mm-hmm.
happy. Like, that's how a relationship is supposed to go.
Yep. Yep.
Though Ava did say maybe she should become a nun. I said, you could be a wrestling nun. She goes, ooh. She goes, I think I'd be a nun first. I'm like, nice. Yeah. Yeah, first.
That's what you want to do. Go for it. Oh, is the Pope sick? I saw on Twitter someone said something about pray for the Pope.
So I
I'm not
saw
in
that
that
too.
loop.
Ooh, I remembered what I was saying, I think, thinking. But
Okay, that's
I
much more
did
important.
see the article that said that he was sick. And I was trying to remember. I thought there was a prophecy that said this Pope or the next, I can't remember, was going to be the last Pope. So
Oh yeah, I do remember us talking about that.
so I'm curious if this, like, he's being sick and this is the last one, like, with all the chaos in the world, like, maybe this could be. So you were speaking of chaos and it made me laugh because obviously there's a lot of weird stuff going on with the American government right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, yeah, whatever, right? And like, people around me are like getting all panicky and stuff. And the other day my wife was talking about it, and like, whatever the flavor of the day was that he had done wrong, right? I don't even know.
Yeah.
But they're like, yeah, this is happening, this is happening. I'm like, yeah, somebody like is really mad at me because they're like, I want you to stand up, I want people to go on strike, I want to do all this stuff. And I'm like, cool, cool. And I'm like, it doesn't seem to be affecting me. And she's like, because you said this would happen and that it needed to happen. I'm like, what? Like, what did I say? And she goes, back in, she goes, like 2015. So this is like way back there. She said, the government is screwed up. The two-party system is screwed up. And the only way to fix it is to burn it down and start over. She goes, so this is literally what you said needed to happen. She goes, so of course you're not upset because you believe it needs to all be burned down. And I was like, I did say that. I totally forgot. So you're right. That's why I'm not upset. Like, I go, it's a win-win for me. Either all that stuff that's happening will have a good outcome, like our buddy Jason believes, and so yay, like we come out ahead and we're winning. I go, or the whole system goes on fire and in chaos and burns to nothing and we can rebuild it into something better. I'm like, both are wins in my book. So you're right. That's probably why I'm not upset. So.
Yeah. It's super rare that I'm doom and gloom. Not that you're doom and gloom, but to think that something that bad would happen. And I've thought that for years as well. Like, the path that we're on is not working for most people. And things need to, like, the United States will not be, who knows if it'll be the United States still, like you said, or if it's going to be something completely different and all of our lives are going to be slightly different. And we move forward.
Yeah. Like the Constitution
in a different system.
Worked great for like 200 plus years. It was fantastic. But I don't know anything that's been around for 200 plus years that I think is still fantastic.
Yeah.
So, like...
And that was before there were lobbyists.
Yes! So, like, maybe there's some stuff that needs to be fixed. And I think everybody would say there's things... It doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on. Right now, you're thinking that things were wrong. You're thinking whatever Biden did was wrong. You're thinking whatever Trump is doing is wrong. You're thinking whatever Congress does is wrong. You're thinking it's wrong. The only way we can fix that, like, it's too entrenched. It's too entrenched in a two-party system. It can't be fixed. You've got to burn all that shit down, and then you do it. And somebody recently was like, that's kind of a harsh view. And I'm like, no. I go, that is a normal science person view. The forest is all messed up. Burn it down. It'll regrow better. You want to know about elements? You explode those MFers and you see what they're made of. You want to make a new element? Smash them together. You'll make new stuff. Like, I'm a chemistry person. Like, we believe you burn it down to figure out what works. So anyway, yeah, she was right. I'm like, yeah. Which, Jason, by the way, that's why I'm a chaotic person. Like, I don't shy away from the chaos. Which is easier for me.
I don't remember when I first started saying that or thinking it, but it was something that I bet you we've even had conversations way back when about it.
I'm sure. I mean, that's 10 years ago she's bringing up.
Yeah. It was sometime in between the housing crisis and when the government bought out the big three and the banks and everything. And I was just like, this is not sustainable.
No. And it's when you kept voting independent party because you were like, two-party system is stupid. Which I still agree with. I still agree it's stupid. Somebody recently, a Trump supporter on my feed, was like, if nothing else, this should bring the start of a three-party system. I'm like, if nothing else, it should be like ruined and start with a 10-party system. Like, like if anybody can see the errors in this.
Yeah. There was one guy, he was across from me in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah.
And this would have been, it was before COVID, or maybe it was right when COVID opened back up. No, it was before COVID. It was the year of COVID. So Biden would have just been elected. This guy was a self-proclaimed homosexual Republican, which, I just tried to talk to him. I'm like, don't you know, like, anyways,
I have friends who are homosexual Republicans.
Okay. So he's because we were talking about, I thought that there should be more than two parties. And he disagreed because I guess there are countries with 10 parties. And he's like, then you get weird people in bed together who are like, because this party stands for like these two things, and these, all the parties only have a couple things that they stand for. And so they make different agreements with different people depending on what they're trying to get past. And I'm like, isn't that better? Like, who cares if one time they're agreeing with these guys and one time they're agreeing with these guys? Like, who cares?
Right.
Like, stuff is getting done, and there's not somebody sitting there blocking everything else from being done.
Right. Like,
and then you're not arguing over dumb stuff.
And right now, you're not able to make agreements. Right now, you are always, the way it works right now is somebody is always forcing their agenda on somebody else. Mm-hmm. And when you think about Trump or Biden, it was a third of the population thought they were good enough. Either one. Like, you didn't win a majority of the votes.
It's funny because I just thought of that. I saw someone on Twitter like, this is going against what half of the nation wanted. Like, no, like, look at the total votes. Even here in North Carolina, there was like over 400,000 people who did not even vote the top of the ticket.
Right.
And they voted for governor. Like, that's a lot in one small state. Well, I guess it's not that small, but
no, but that's still a lot.
One state. Yeah,
and it's showing you that they didn't vote Republican or Democrat. They would have voted for a third party.
Yeah, because they voted for either Republican or Democrat on the next line down.
Right. So don't give us that crap.
yeah. That it's so hilarious that I thought that same thing this morning. I was just like shaking my head.
We're like connected.
Like, you're so silly. I've heard people say that before.
Well, we are over our time limit. Any last thoughts, Kilted? It's been a fast episode.
I got to say the fun, important stuff I wanted to say.
Nice. And I got to show off my decanter and my pipe. It's a pretty sweet-ass decanter, isn't it?
Super awesome.
I'm so excited for you to come up and have some with me.
I may even have to have a sip when I'm up there.
I'll keep refilling it till you do. It was awesome. It wasn't super expensive, but it wasn't super cheap. But it's like, I drank that whole thing and I'm enjoying it. It's like good flavor.
Good.
Ooh, and it came with a big ass smoker.
Oh, did it?
So I have 2 whiskey smokers, cocktail smokers now. So.
Ooh, my birthday's coming up.
Maybe I'll give you the little one. Go with your 2 inches.
Although I haven't like, it's rare that I have a drink. So
you're drinking right now.
Besides my tea or my water.
Oh, okay. I had to explain that to my daughter again, like the last little thing. But she had called me today and we were talking, and I was like, you got to remember your prof is literal. Like, he's a chemical engineer. Like, we're literal people. And she's like, oh my gosh, I was doing my application for a leadership position and I looked at my application from last year to write it. She goes, I am so much more literal now. She goes, it happens so fast. Like, she goes, you stop caring about emotions. I'm like, yes.
Oh, that stinks.
She's like I
She's
was like,
corrupted.
I know. She's like, oh, like I cared about people's feelings back then. And she goes, now I'm like, I don't got time to care about those feelings. I'm like, I go, yep. I go, and all those creatives around you still have those feelings. She's like, yeah, it was like overnight. I'm like, that's what happens to science people. Like, it's not that they don't have the feelings. It's just too big of a waste of time for them to deal with the feelings.
I got shit to do.
I got shit to do. And it ain't worrying about my sadness right now. So, I don't know how it goes.
That's funny.
Well, anyway, people, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Tilted Balls. We are so happy you're with us. We hope you got something out of this. And this is Ballbuster signing off.
Kilted Dragon Jerry, love you all.